It all started during one of the lowest periods of my life. I had just broken up with my boyfriend of 3 years, Ethan, after finding out he had been messaging other girls behind my back. It wasn't even just harmless flirting. He had been planning meetups, telling them the same things he told me, recycling his, "You're the only one I care about," lines like he was running some kind of emotional clearance sale. I was devastated, angry, and more than anything, I wanted to feel like I could trust someone again. So when I downloaded a language exchange app a couple of months later, I told myself it was just to make friends, maybe practice some Spanish, and definitely not to date. That's when I met Lucas. He was charming but not in the aggressive, over-the-top way Ethan used to be. He had this calm, warm energy, like he genuinely cared about what I had to say. We started messaging about silly things at first, TV shows, music, random memes, but the conversations quickly turned deeper. We'd talk about our dreams, our families, the things that kept us up at night. He lived in another country, so there was no pressure for anything physical, which made me feel safe. Weeks turned into months, and every day I would wake up excited to see a message from him. Lucas wasn't just some guy I talked to, he became my best friend, the person I went to for advice, the one who made me feel seen. Somewhere along the way, those late-night calls and video chats turned into something more. He'd tell me I had the kindest eyes, that my laugh made his bad days better, and that if he could, he'd get on a plane tomorrow just to take me to my favorite coffee shop. I tried to be cautious because of how badly I had been hurt before, but honestly, I was falling for him hard. We made plans to meet in person in the summer. He'd come to my city, stay for 2 weeks, and we'd finally see if the connection was as real face-to-face as it was through a screen. I didn't tell many people about him at first, just my best friend and my cousin, because I didn't want the outside world to ruin it. My cousin Chloe joked that maybe he was a catfish, but I had seen him on video calls plenty of times. He was real. And he was everything I thought I wanted. About 3 months before he was supposed to visit, we started talking about our past relationships. I told him about Ethan, how things ended, and how much it had hurt me. Lucas listened quietly and then admitted he'd had his own messy breakup a couple of years back, but that he'd rather not go into details yet. I didn't push. I respected his boundaries. But there was something in his voice when he said it, a tension, like he was holding something back. I brushed it off at the time. I was too wrapped up in how happy he made me feel. I didn't know that the truth he was hiding was the kind of thing that would shatter every single bit of trust one had built with him. That truth wouldn't come out until the day he stepped off the plane and I saw who was waiting for me. The day finally came when Lucas was supposed to arrive. I barely slept the night before, tossing and turning like a kid waiting for Christmas morning. I had planned every little detail, where we'd eat first, the places I wanted to show him, even a playlist for when we drive around the city together. I stood at the airport gate, my heart pounding every time the arrival doors slid open. I kept checking my phone, making sure his last, just landed, text was real and not some weird dream. And then I saw him. Lucas. The same warm smile, the same messy hair he always tried to brush away on camera. But my brain froze because standing next to him, holding his hand like she belonged there, was someone I knew all too well, Samantha. Samantha wasn't just some random girl. She was Ethan's younger sister. The same girl who had been at every family event, the same girl who once called me Big Sis as a joke when Ethan and I were together. My stomach dropped so hard I thought I might actually pass out. For a moment I couldn't process it. My mind tried to make up excuses. Maybe she just happened to be traveling with him, maybe she was picking him up, but then I saw the way they looked at each other. Not like friends. Not like siblings. Like two people who were very much together. Lucas spotted me and his smile faltered. He let go of Samantha's hand like it was burning him, but it was too late. She looked right at me and I could see the recognition flash across her face. Her jaw tightened. "You must be her," she said, not even bothering to hide the awkwardness in her voice. My voice came out sharper than I intended. "What the hell is going on?" Lucas stepped forward, his hands raised slightly like he was trying to calm me down. "Please, let me explain." "Explain what?" That the guy I've been talking to for almost a year just shows up with my ex's sister like it's totally normal? I was aware people were staring, but I didn't care. My heart was racing, my cheeks burning, and my hands were trembling so badly I had to clench them into fists. Samantha looked uncomfortable but didn't say a word, just kept glancing between us like she wanted to be anywhere else. Lucas asked if we could talk somewhere private. Against my better judgment, I agreed, mostly because I needed answers. We found a quiet cafe in the airport, and the second we sat down, I demanded to know how they knew each other. That's when the story started to unravel in ways I never could have predicted. Lucas told me they had met years ago, before I ever knew Ethan, through mutual friends. They dated briefly, lost touch, and then reconnected earlier this year. Which was right around the time he started talking to me. He swore he never planned for things to overlap, that it was complicated and messy, but that he and Samantha had been seeing each other again for months. Months. My hands went cold. So what was I, Lucas? Your backup plan? Entertainment when she wasn't around? He shook his head frantically, saying it wasn't like that he cared about me deeply and didn't expect to fall back into things with her. But I could barely hear him. All I could think about was how humiliating this was. Samantha sat there quietly for a while before finally speaking. I didn't know who you were at first, she said. When I found out, I told him he needed to come clean. Clearly, he didn't. I laughed bitterly because of course he didn't. The man I thought I could trust had been lying by omission the entire time. And now, the two people sitting across from me were not only connected to my past pain but tangled together in a way that made me feel like I had walked into some twisted soap opera. I sat there, staring at both of them, feeling like the floor had disappeared under me. The cafe noise faded into a dull buzz as my mind replayed every single late-night call, every sweet message, every moment Lucas had made me feel special, now all tainted with this sick twist. When exactly did you plan on telling me? I asked, my voice low but sharp enough to cut glass. Lucas looked down at his coffee cup like it might have the answer. I didn't know how to. I thought maybe after you visited. I cut him off. So your plan was to spend 2 weeks with me, pretend this was real, and then go back to her? His eyes darted to Samantha, who crossed her arms and leaned back like she was bracing for impact. It's not like that, he insisted. Then tell me exactly what it's like, I snapped. Samantha finally broke her silence, her voice cool but defensive. Look, I didn't know you were talking to him until a couple of months ago. And when I found out, I told him it was wrong. But I also told him it wasn't my place to control who he talks to. We're not even officially, don't, I said, holding up a hand. Don't try to downplay this. You knew who I was. You knew what your brother did to me. And you still thought it was fine to be with him while he was with me? Her expression flickered, just for a second, from confidence to something almost like guilt. Ethan and I aren't close anymore. And what happened between you two was traumatic, I interrupted. And now I'm sitting here finding out my ex's sister is sleeping with the guy I thought I was in love with. Tell me how that's not messed up. Lucas reached across the table, like touching my hand would somehow fix this, but I pulled back so fast he froze mid-movement. I never wanted to hurt you, he said quietly. But when I reconnected with her, it was familiar. I didn't expect my feelings for you to be so strong. I thought I could manage both until I figured things out. Manage? I laughed bitterly. Like I'm some kind of project on your to-do list? I could feel the tears burning behind my eyes, but I refused to let them fall in front of him. I stood up, grabbed my bag, and told them both I needed space. But walking away didn't make it better. It made it worse. I sat in my car in the parking lot, gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. My chest ached with the weight of betrayal, but underneath it all was this gnawing need to know the full truth. Had he been talking to her the entire time we were together? Had they laughed about me behind my back? Did Ethan know? That last thought made my stomach churn. If Ethan knew about this, it meant my humiliation was even bigger than I realized. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized I wasn't done. Not by a long shot. That night I couldn't sleep. My mind was running like a crime scene board, connecting pins and strings between every conversation, every detail Lucas had shared with me. I opened our old chats, scrolling back months, looking for signs I had missed. And they were there. Subtle, but there. Little gaps in his replies that lined up with weekends I now knew he had spent with Samantha. The times he'd cancel our calls last minute because he was exhausted or helping a friend. It made me feel sick. By 2 a.m., I was pacing my apartment, replaying the last year like I was watching a movie of my own humiliation. And then I did something I swore I'd never do again. I texted Ethan. I told myself I wasn't doing it for closure with him. I was doing it because I needed answers. I typed, "Did you know your sister is dating Lucas?" His reply came faster than I expected. "Who?" I sent Lucas's picture, the same one where he was laughing at some dumb joke I told. A minute passed. Then Ethan replied. "Wait, are you serious?" He called me. I almost didn't pick up, but curiosity won. "What the hell is going on?" I asked before he could speak. "I had no idea," he said. "Sam didn't tell me anything. But I know that guy. We met once at a party, like 2 years ago. She had a thing with him back then, but it fizzled out." "Why are you talking to him?" "Because I didn't know he was your sister's ex," I said, my voice shaking. "I've been in a long-distance thing with him for months. We were supposed to meet. And he just showed up holding her hand." There was a long pause. Then Ethan said something that made my stomach turn. "I think they were seeing each other again before you ever came into the picture." Which means, he was with her the whole time. My throat went dry. "Are you telling me this has been some overlapping mess from the start?" "I'm telling you Sam's not innocent in this," Ethan said. "She's competitive. Always has been. If she knew you liked him, she'd see that as some kind of game." His words lit a fuse in my chest. All this time, I thought maybe Lucas was just selfish, just caught between two people. But now the idea that Samantha might have been actively playing along, knowing exactly who I was, it changed everything. I hung up without saying goodbye. My phone buzzed with a message from Lucas almost immediately. "Can we please talk tomorrow? I'll explain everything." I stared at the screen, my heart pounding, and for the first time, I didn't feel sad. I felt angry. I wasn't going to wait for his explanation. I was going to get my own. I texted Samantha, "We need to talk. Face to face." I wasn't ready to forgive, but I needed to hear it from her. She agreed, and we met at a quiet park near my apartment. The moment I saw her, my chest tightened. She looked calm, almost smug, like she thought she already won. "Why?" she asked, folding her arms. "Why what?" I bit back the urge to yell. "Why drag me through this? You knew who I was. You knew what your brother did to me. And you still decided to get involved with Lucas, while he was talking to me. Was this some kind of sick game to you?" Samantha's smile faltered. "You don't understand the whole story. Ethan isn't the saint you think he is." "Oh, really? What story?" I pressed. "You really want to know why Lucas and I got back together?" "Because Ethan's been a mess, and I wanted to hurt him. I knew he'd hate it if I dated someone he cared about." The words hit me like a slap. "So this was revenge?" I asked, voice shaking. "Yes. And you were collateral damage." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Samantha was confessing to using me as a pawn in some twisted family drama. And Lucas? He just went along with it? She shrugged. "He's selfish, and maybe he liked the drama. But honestly, I don't care anymore. You should be mad at Ethan. He ruined everything." I swallowed the rising bile. "You think I'm mad at him? You're all pieces of the same messed up puzzle." She smirked, like I had no idea what I was really getting into. Look, you lost before this even started. Lucas was never yours to have. I wanted to scream, but instead I just stood there, shaking. Everything I thought was real was a lie. Samantha walked away, leaving me alone with the cold wind and my shattered trust. After that confrontation, I felt like I was drowning in a sea of betrayal. I couldn't bring myself to answer Lucas's messages or calls. But one night, after hours of silence, he sent me something that made me freeze, a long text full of apologies, explanations, and desperate promises that he had messed up but wanted to make things right. I debated replying for hours before finally typing back. We met at a small cafe, and he looked exhausted, like he had been carrying the weight of his lies for too long. I never meant to hurt you, he said, voice breaking. I thought I could handle it. I thought I could figure it out without destroying everything. I looked at him, the guy who had been my rock for months but was now the source of my pain. Why didn't you just tell me? Why drag me through this? I was scared, he admitted. Scared of losing both of you, scared of losing me. But I realize now that I lost the most important person instead. The anger inside me boiled over. You lost me, Lucas. You lost me the second you decided to lie. I stood up, my heart pounding, and told him I needed to move on. It wasn't easy, but I knew I deserved better than being a backup plan in some twisted family game. In the days that followed, I blocked Lucas and Samantha on every platform. I stopped answering Ethan's messages, too. I needed silence to heal, to piece myself back together. I threw myself into work, friends, and rediscovering who I was without them. It was hard. Some nights, I cried for the future I thought I had, for the trust that was ripped away. But slowly, the pain turned into something else, strength. I realized I wasn't a victim of their games. I was a survivor. And while Lucas had been my long-distance love, he was never my forever. The truth was painful, but it freed me from illusions. Now, when I think back to those months, I don't just see betrayal, I see how much I grew, how much I learned to protect my heart better. And one day, I'll be ready to love again. But this time, for real. No lies. No secrets. Just honesty.